I don't know if you noticed that our members choir just had a rehearsal this morning, and it just happened that those who stayed, spread in the community, and the moments when you sing or you're joining, it's just beautiful here. So thank you. Let's do it every week. There is a beautiful old story about Baal Shem Tov, who is believed to be founder of the Hasidic movement in Judaism. We don't know much about his life. All we have is a series of stories, tales, and legends associated with this rabbi. I think there are only 2 books survived of this collections of these stories. If this is a real character, then he lived in the 18th century, what is now Ukraine, which was the Russian Empire then. And he was famous, or at least according to these tales, he could invoke certain magical rituals that helped people personally, and they help nation to survive pogroms, which of course that was the time. So many people who have roots in Russian Empire, whose family would arrive from Lviv, from what is now Ukraine, they would probably left the Russian Empire at the time of pogroms, or around the time of pogroms. So this is roughly the moment of time we're speaking about. So according to one such story, in times of crisis, when the community faced great danger, the Baal Shem Tov would retreat to a special place deep in the forest. And there he would light a fire in a very special way. He would read a particular prayer, and somehow, miraculously, the crisis would pass. Then his successor, the Maggid of Mezrich, knew the place and the prayer, but he's forgotten how to light the fire. Nevertheless, he went to the same forest, said the prayer, and the miracle occurred once again, and the community would be spared from danger. The next generation knew only the location. They no longer remembered the fire or the prayer, yet even just being in that place was enough to bring the miracle. Eventually, as generations passed, all that was remembered was the story. Looking at this from a modern, more rational perspective, I will leave it to you to verify whether this method of relief is effective or not. Some people would say that today we are that generation, or at least many people perceive Judaism as if we are the generation that forgot the original and authentic way. We look back at our history, inspired by rabbis, teachers, and leaders of the past. We cherish the memories and ideals that have been handed down to us. And if you take this view, which, by the way, has a Hebrew name, Yeridat Adorot, the decline of generations, it is easy to feel inadequate, not good enough for the legacy, not worthy of the legacy we received and the people who built the world for us. But I want to argue that memories and history, although of course important, are not enough. They never were. It is not enough to look at the past and do as the leaders of the past did. Let's look at this week's Torah portion in the book of Numbers. It opens with this phrase, "V'yidaber Adonai el Moshe b'midbar Sinai." The Eternal One spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. The foundational story of Judaism, the Sinai moment. This is the moment when we became the people, begins in the desert, in the wilderness. Why in the wilderness, of all places? Why not in a large city? They were large and beautiful cities then. Why not in a beautiful temple? Why in the middle of nowhere? Torah scholars of many generations had this question in mind as they navigated their challenges and applied their experience to the reading and understanding of the text. Some of them said that the fact that Torah was given in the wilderness is because this is the place that's open and free to everyone. Wisdom isn't found behind walls or titles. The desert strips away any ideas of control, status, hierarchy, ego. Here, everyone stands equal. Everyone has access to everything. In the middle of a city, it is easy to forget what it means to be able to see the horizon in all directions wherever you look. In the middle of the wilderness, you feel small to some extent. It's a humbling experience, but at the same time, it's a freeing experience to be in the open space. Why was the Torah given in the wilderness? Says Rabbi in Midrash Rabbah. From this, the sages taught that the Torah was given in the accompaniment of three things: fire, water, and wilderness. Fire was the pillar of fire that held back the Egyptian army before the Israelites went into the sea, and the sea parted. And this is the water. And the wilderness, the rest of the story happens in the wilderness. Why was the giving of the Torah marked by these three features? To indicate that as this is free for all in the world, so are the words of the Torah free. Anyone who doesn't make themselves as open, in Hebrew, hefker, ownerless, as the desert, is not able to acquire wisdom of the Torah. So what does it mean to become open and ownerless, a wilderness-like? There is a story called Rabbi by James Joyce. The story is based around a young boy who was secretly in love with a girl who was his neighbor. The boy becomes fixated on the idea of going to Arabi Bazaar, a fictional marketplace associated with exotic and faraway lands. He wants to go there and get her a gift from this exotic market. The boy's journey, however, is not easy. He faces delays because his uncle is late, and because of the complex realities of the daily life in Dublin, where he was traveling from. Ultimately, he arrives at the bazaar late, only to find it closing down. In addition, the atmosphere is far from exotic dream he had envisioned. He is left feeling disappointment and disillusioned, realizing that his idealized vision of that market and his relationship also with his neighbor are not as he has imagined. We often live in imaginary worlds of an idealized past with an image of a perfect parent, teacher, or leader. Sooner or later, there comes a point of realizing their imperfection. This moment can be painful and often comes with a sense of a loss. And I think another reason that the Torah was given in the middle of nowhere, in the wilderness, because it's hard to idealize the desert. Perhaps that's another message of the Torah. We must stop pretending that the past was perfect, or that today is somehow an imitation of what once was. Judaism doesn't ask us to live in a museum. Torah wasn't handed down in a pristine sanctuary. It was offered in the dust, under an open sky, in the middle of nowhere. It's easy to look back at our leaders, teachers, and our politics, and even this community, and imagine that things were simpler, better, and more inspiring in the past. However, the truth is that the past had its own struggles, just as we faced our struggles today. And there is something honest even freeing, about seeing things as they are, not as we wish they were. Even our most significant Torah figures, Abraham, Moses, Miriam, David, they weren't perfect. They were far from it. Abraham lied. Moses was a murderer. Miriam spread gossip. King David made very serious mistakes himself. Their greatness wasn't in their perfection. It was in their struggle, in their willingness to learn, to change, to grow. We need our past for inspiration, not imitation. After all, would you want future generations to live exactly as you do? The Baal Shem Tov's forest is no longer there. The fire is out, the prayer is forgotten, the Arabic boy's dream falls apart. The great teachers and architects of the best of this world are no longer with us. But we are here. We owe it to them to live our lives to make this world a better place for us and future generations, because it is within our power to make it better, and this is what gives us hope. We should never be satisfied with an offer of a good past. We must create a good future. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Blessed are you, Eternal One, for continuing to give us inspiration, wisdom, and teaching, and the ability to make this world slightly better than we received it. Shabbat Shalom.